Schneider has details. Jessica?
Anna, the Trump administration has repeatedly been criticized for its vetting process. Well, now the latest nominee for Army Secretary has been forced out, once again raising the question, is the Trump team getting this vetting process right? Mark Green is a victim of his own words.
You poll the psychiatrists, they're going to tell you that transgender is a disease.
Green has also made critical comments about Muslims and is a self-identified creationist who once delivered a lecture arguing against the theory of evolution. Now the West Point grad, who was President Trump's second choice for Army Secretary, is taking his name out of consideration. The first pick withdrew, citing financial entanglements. Green is just the latest problematic pick for President Trump, drawing doubts about the administration's vetting process. Questions are also now being raised about 28-year-old Steven Munoz. He was hired for a top job in the Office of Protocol at the State Department on January 25th. But police records, first reported by ProPublica and obtained by CNN, show multiple people accused Munoz of sexual assault while he was a student at the Citadel Military College. The alleged victims came forward to college officials and police between 2010 and 2012. Munoz was never charged with a crime, but an investigation by the Citadel revealed that based upon a preponderance of evidence, the college concluded that certain assaults likely occurred. Munoz's lawyer maintains the allegations were unfounded, it was a total overreaction by the Citadel to even investigate, and ultimately no charges or lawsuits were brought against him. The State Department is standing by Munoz and its vetting procedure. A simple search would have revealed the allegations. The White House and State Department did not comment on whether they considered or knew about the allegations. Perhaps the most serious case of questionable vetting, the appointment and subsequent resignation of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. The retired general accepted $45,000 in speaking fees from Russian state TV in 2015, despite being warned by the Pentagon not to accept money from foreign governments. And Flynn initially failed to register as a foreign agent for work he did for a Turkish-owned company. President Trump deflected responsibility, pinning Flynn's approval on former President Obama.
He was approved by the Obama administration at the highest level. And when they say we didn't vet, well, Obama, I guess, didn't vet, because he was approved at the highest level of security by the Obama administration.
And President Trump is right. The Obama administration granted Michael Flynn a security clearance, but Flynn resigned from that post in 2014, a year before he was paid for that speech in Russia. It's something that a second background check, if done by the Trump team, may have picked up. Anna?
All right, Jessica Schneider, thank you. A third search will now be needed to select President Trump's Army Secretary, one of hundreds of positions still unfilled. Let's talk this over with CNN political commentator and former Reagan political director Jeffrey Lord and CNN contributor, former Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter. Jeffrey, it's a Washington tradition to blame previous administrations for problems, but doesn't President Trump have to take responsibility at some point?
Well, look, we're talking a couple things here. First, sure, he has to take responsibility. Every president, the buck stops on their desk. That's absolutely correct. My point here is that this happens in administrations. I can think of three right off the top of my head from the Obama administration. Tom Daschle as HHS Secretary, Charles Freeman, a former Saudi ambassador, as the head of the National Intelligence Council, and Bill Richardson as Commerce Secretary. All of them had to withdraw their nominations for varying reasons, conflict of interest, et cetera. So, and there are others going well back in the past. So this happens. It just happens to be Donald Trump's turn here.
But Donald Trump also comes in with a unique set of circumstances, right? He's the mogul who shot to stardom as a mentor to his apprentices. Shouldn't he know something about hiring?
Well, what you've got here is this is the government here. This is the government and the media and all of that sort of thing. So there is a problem here. I'm sure he's going to correct it. I have no doubt about it. But in context, to be very, very fair here, these kind of things have been happening for a long time, and they happened in the Obama administration, and he served 2 terms.
Yeah, but Daschle, as you mentioned earlier, he withdrew in February. It's May. But anyway, Mayor Nutter, is the problem the vetting, or is it unfair expectations? I mean, Donald Trump is a different kind of president. Doesn't it make sense he would have a different kind of staff, could you argue?
No. And Jeffrey, you need to cut it out. You know that this is bad.
You're wrong.
You just ran right past the fact that the president has to take responsibility for this. Forget about I love, maybe you didn't, President Obama in his 8 years, but last I checked, he's out of office. There is a vetting that must take place before you even think about nominating someone, before you speak their name in public. You have already gone through a double vet. President Trump likes to talk about extreme vetting. This is for the National Security Advisor. So cut it out. It has nothing to do with President Barack Obama. There's a thing, Jeffrey, that was created. I know you were in the Reagan administration, but since then, there's this new thing out called the Internet. You can find out all kinds of information if you go into your little device or computer.
True and untrue.
And when you fill out your clearance form, like I've had to in the past, the things that Mr. Flynn is being accused of, or that he did, you actually have to put on the form. So this is all the Trump administration, and it's really indicative of the arrogance and ignorance with which they've approached putting their team together in the first place.
Jeffrey, I'd like to ask you about your experience working in the White House. At some point, surely all these open jobs cause problems for staff, don't they? You look at the State Department, for example, and more than a third of ambassadorships have not been filled. Undersecretary and assistant secretary positions are still open. We're talking about hundreds of positions overall in the administration. Doesn't this have an impact?
There are a couple things that are at play here. One, I think, is unique to Donald Trump. I think he genuinely believes that some of these positions are not necessary and why fill them. So that's number one that's probably unique to him. But there is a second thing that went on in the Reagan administration. It's going on in the Trump administration, and I'm sure it went on in the Obama administration as well. And I can give you an example. A friend of mine was nominated to be Secretary of Transportation. He was cleared. He wanted to appoint a specific person as his communications director. That specific person had problems with the Reagans. And therefore, that nomination wasn't going to be approved until certain things were taken care of. They went through this all through the Reagan administration with candidates who had worked in the Bush campaign, for example. Even though George H.W. Bush was vice president, well, one candidate was vetoed for a job in the Reagan-Meese Justice Department.
Right. I mean, there are lots of examples where this happens.
They want people who are loyal to the candidate, loyal to the president.
But what's the impact on, and it does take time, but what's the impact of having all of these positions still left open? And even if maybe there is some trimming of the fat to be done, to your point, if we were just to accept that. At some point, though, there's an impact to things getting done, is there not?
Well, sure, if you just extend it forever and a day, but that's not going to happen here. I mean, these positions are going to get filled, and we'll go on. I mean, things are rolling along as they are. He just got his health care bill out of the House. So, life moves on.
All right, Mayor Nutter, I know you were the Philadelphia mayor, of course, one of the country's biggest. But I'd love to get your input from your shoes and the positions you've held. How did you handle criticism of your hiring decisions?
Well, first and foremost, Anna, the answer to your original question just now to Jeff is yes, it has an impact on departments, and maybe the president should not have had a massacre of the ambassador corps requiring everyone to resign at the same time. Again, not understanding that it actually takes time to vet your own folks and get them confirmed. Second, much of this process actually quietly, every candidate should at least consider that they might possibly win. So you start thinking on a separate track that you're actually going to start identifying folks that you would want to have in these critical positions, and then you accelerate it after the election. And so they've been slow from the start, and then they were even slower kind of getting up and running. It's May, and you've got a ton of positions unfilled. It does have an impact on the departments and agencies. People want to do their work. They want to know who they report to, what's the direction, what's our focus, what's our mission. And some of these agencies are being run by folks who are a couple rungs down from the secretary's office or the ambassadorship. And so you can't just say it is not running like a fine-tuned machine, as the president likes to say. The wheels are starting to come off of this thing a little bit.
All right, we'll leave it there. Since Jeffrey got the first word, we'll give Mayor Michael Nutter the last. Got to leave it there. Thank you both, gentlemen. Coming up, the president takes a victory lap on health care, but is he ready for